In ancient times, the great war between good and evil has been fought in the shadows of people, even in the memories of little children. Each evil took many forms, including the use of magic, and in this day and age, that evil is referred to as the Hand. The Hand uses its spiritual power and ninja as its weapon. But the name of evil, there must be an opponent. That was goodness. And this group of good clans is led by Stick, a blind Kimagure master who can see the future. He can even bring the dead back to life. According to their legend, there will be a female knight who will restore the balance between evil and good. And that warrior was a woman named Electra Natchios. When Electra was a child, she had the saddest experience of her life, finding her mother murdered by a mysterious shadowy ninja demon. When Electra became a teenager, she was recruited by Stickmaster Kimagure, because he knew that Electra had extraordinary skills in martial arts. Stick's guess turned out to be correct, and when Electra grew up, she became the greatest student of all. However, Stick discovered that Electra was still unable to let go of her emotions about her mother's death, and was afraid to facing the man who killed her mother. Thus, Stick secretly put her to the test by expelling Electra from his clan. Years later, Electra, who had no purpose, ended up using her abilities to become an assassin. She went on to kill DeMarco's gang. In a house, DeMarco told his men that Electra had died, but was brought back to life by her master. At that moment, Electra arrived, and quickly killed everyone in the house, including DeMarco. On the other side, or precisely at the Hand headquarters, members of the Ninja Pay Army Syndicate, led by Master Roshi, held a meeting with his son, Kirigi. During the meeting, they discussed the assassination mission to the target, called Treasure. Kirigi was initially eager to take this mission, but Master Roshi forbade Kirigi and gave the mission to one of the council named Mizumi. Meanwhile, Electra, who was drinking at her house, was visited by her agent named McCabe. The agent gave Electra an assassination mission in a place. McCabe also gave her a bag and an address that would lead her to the place. Long story short, Electra then traveled to the place, which turned out to be an island. There, Electra was asked to stay in a luxury inn for a few days, while waiting for the identity of the person she was going to kill to be obtained. While waiting for information from McCabe, Electra went for a swim in the ocean. But at that very moment, she had visions of her past with her mother and father. When Electra returned to her lodgings, she sensed that her room was being infiltrated. Luckily, Electra managed to catch the intruder, who turned out to be a teenage girl named Abby. Abby was caught stealing a necklace belonging to Electra's mother, and begged Electra not to tell her father about her behavior. The next day, Electra deliberately meditated to relieve her fatigue. However, at the same time, Electra is approached by a man named Mark Miller, who asks about the whereabouts of his daughter Abby. Electra tells Mark that Abby entered her house yesterday, but Electra didn't say that Abby tried to steal her mother's necklace. Hearing this, Mark apologized profusely to Electra. Later that evening, while Electra was daydreaming by the beach, she was approached by Abby, who offered Electra to have dinner at her house. Since tonight was Mark making dinner, Electra agreed and got ready to change her clothes. To make a long story short, later that night Abby brought Electra to her house, where Mark was very surprised that she hadn't invited her. But even so, Mark welcomed Electra warmly. After finishing dinner, Electra decided to return to her lodging. But before that, she accidentally saw Mark putting Abby to bed, which touched her heart. Mark then meets Electra and reveals that his wife died in a drunken accident 2 years ago, and now Mark is a single father. The next day, Electra gets a call from McCabe, who informs her that she has received a package of information on the murder. However, when opened, it turns out that the people Electra has to kill are Mark and his daughter, Abby. Since the job had to be done, Electra started preparing her weapons and went to shoot the father and daughter. However, before this could happen, Electra suddenly felt a sense of hesitation and pity, which led to her decision to not kill them both. Electra then tells McCabe that she can't do it. This worried McCabe, because if Electra didn't do it, then his client would send someone else to kill them both. Knowing this, Electra went to the docks, and sure enough, she sensed 2 mysterious ninjas arriving to start their work. Later that night, when the ninjas won action at Mark's house, Electra quickly met Mark and Abby, then asked them to enter the house. After Mark entered, Electra instinctively killed one of the ninjas with her weapon, the trident. Electra then told Mark and Abby that they were being hunted by a killer. Electra then tells them to hide, after which she unleashes her abilities by seeing the events of the next 5 minutes. She made a mistake and was killed by the ninja, while Abby and Mark were also killed. Realizing this, Electra made another move, which succeeded in defeating the ninja and making the ninja commit suicide. Meanwhile, at the Hand's headquarters, Kirigi and his mutant-powered army face Master Roshi and the Council. Kirigi tells his father that Mizumi failed to carry out his duties, and therefore Kirigi asked his father to hand over this mission to him. Knowing that, Master Roshi agreed and would make Kirigi the leader of the Hand if he managed to complete his mission properly. On the other hand, Electra, Abby, and Mark then meet Stick at a billiard hall. There, Electra asks Stick to protect Mark and Abby because they are being hunted. This is where Stick tells Electra that they are both being hunted by Kirigi and the Hand. This surprised Electra. Stick then asks Electra why she wants to save Mark and Abby, and considers it penance for her previous murder. This made Electra angry and tried to attack Stick, but the attack was easily repelled by Stick. After exiting the building, Electra sees an eagle moving, indicating that she is being watched. She immediately took them both, while the eagle image turned into a real eagle and returned to the body of Kiriji's henchman Tattoo, who had the ability to revive Tattoo's image on his body. Later, Electra took Mark and Abby to her house. There, McCabe was a little annoyed, because Electra was protecting her target and they were likely to get into trouble. Inside the house, Electra instinctively bonded with Abby as mother and daughter. She also teaches Abby how to meditate, which makes Mark happy as Abby feels comfortable around Electra. As Electra daydreams on the terrace, she is approached by Mark, who reveals that he knew from the beginning that Electra was sent to kill him and Abby. Feeling guilty, Electra calms them down by giving a kiss. The next day, Electra is surprised by McCabe, who accidentally shoots an eagle that had been rounding near her house. Realizing that Kirigi was coming, Electra rushes Mark and Abby away from the house through a secret tunnel. Meanwhile, McCabe decides to stay behind and face Kirigi and his men. When Kirigi was in front of the house, McCabe immediately fired his rifle at the door until it opened. But as it turned out, the shot hit Kiriji's man, named Stone, who was immune to weapons. Kirigi finds out about Electra by looking at McCabe's memories, and then Kirigi found out that the three of them were heading to the forest. He then killed McCabe. After that, he chased Electra into the forest. During the chase, Tattoo brought out 2 wolf tattoos to chase them. When the pressure was on, Electra told Mark and Abby to take cover under a tree, while she climbed the tree to defeat Stone. Unfortunately, Electra's attacks didn't work against Stone. Even her trident was broken. Stone then throws a log at Electra, but the throw misses and hits a large tree until it breaks and falls. Electra then took this opportunity to climb the tree, then aimed it at Stone, which made Stone instantly vanish. Meanwhile, Mark and Abby, who were running, were confronted by Kiriji's henchman, Kinku, who immediately hit them and took Abby as a hostage. But when Electra arrived, Abby showed her abilities that Electra did not expect. Abby defeated Kinku and the 2 wolves with her martial arts skills. At that very moment, Electra was suddenly kissed by Thepoid, who has the ability to turn anything rusty or withered. Fortunately, just as Kirigi wanted to catch Abby, Stick and his apprentice arrived and chased Kirigi out of the forest. After Kirigi left, Stick approached Electra, telling her that she would be fine. Electra then woke up in Stick's martial arts places, where she saw that Abby was Stick's best student after her. Abby also has extraordinary powers that make the Hand want to kidnap Abby and use her as a weapon. This means that Abby was the treasure referred to by Kirigi and Master Roshi. Not only that, Abby's mother's death was also not due to an accident, but was killed by Kirigi. Hearing this, Electra realizes that she is also the treasure, as her parents were killed by Kirigi, who Electra saw as a shadowy ninja demon when was a child. Later that night, Electra decided to communicate with Kirigi via telepathy, and requested that the matter be settled by duel. If Electra lost, then Abby would belong to Kirigi, but if Kirigi loses, then Kirigi can't bother them anymore. Kirigi agreed and asked Electra to fight at her first house. Long story short, once there, Electra started lighting the gas stove in the kitchen to create a trap inside. Then, Kirigi's troops arrived and tried to enter through the kitchen window. But at the same time, Electra threw a match into the stove, which caused it to explode on Kirigi's men. After that, Kirigi arrived and started fighting Electra. In the midst of the fight, Electra was overwhelmed because Kirigi had abilities such as teleportation and displacement speed that made Electra unable to detect his presence. When Electra was on the verge of defeat, Abby suddenly came to help Electra. But of course, Abby is no match enough for Kirigi. Therefore, Electra immediately took Abby away from the house and ran to the labyrinth garden. At the same time, Tattoo released thousands of snakes from his tattoo to catch Abby. When Abby was separated from Electra, she was surrounded by thousands of snakes and ended up being wrapped around them. Fortunately, Electra immediately went to Tattoo and killed him, and the snakes disappeared. However, after that, Abby was surprised by Thepwoid, who directly attacked Abby with her powers. Meanwhile, Electra was confronted by Kirigi and began to fight near the well. In the fight, Electra was knocked out by Kirigi. But just as Kirigi wanted to kill her, Electra stabbed Kirigi in the body, killing him and sending him into the well. Using her sixth sense, Electra managed to locate Thepwoid and immediately threw her trident, hitting Thepwoid in the head, making her vanish. Electra then found Abby, but she was too late, as Abby was already dead. Electra then took Abby to her room. Afterwards, she used the secret technique she learned from Stick to revive Abby. And it turned out that the technique was successful in bringing Abby back to life. The next day, Mark thanked Electra for saving Abby. Electra then said goodbye to Abby, as she felt unworthy to live with them. As Electra walks away from her home, she is met by Stick, who advises her to choose a second life over her first. But Electra chooses her own path and leaves Stick the teacher behind. With her decision made, the movie ended.